Yes.
So, over the past couple of weeks in particular, I've been with people who have emotional discomfort happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell them things like, don't worry, none of this is real, it's an illusion, because they'll think obviously they won't be on board with
Yes.
that. So I'm just wondering kind of like, if you have any advice for being with people in emotional discomfort who aren't
Yeah.
open to.
Yeah. I think just to be. Just to be. Not to be in any particular way, just to be present. There is being is there is an openness to being, and there's a transparency to being, sort of an open listening space, effortless listening space, not trying to do anything. Sort of being present as an absence, not present with your mind, present with your being. So it's a presence. It's a presence as an absence. You are absently present. This makes sense of the mind. Definitely, to be without a personal agenda. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your discomfort or about you feeling better because you're helping people or you're being useful to the world. Sometimes when we are, quote unquote, trying to help people, we sort of reinforce their story. We sort of go along with them. But you don't need to do that. Just be present. Then whatever you share comes from that, from you're not trying, from not trying. Also, there is a sensitivity to what's stirring within you, how it makes you feel, you see, what's happening, how it affects you, how you feel about it, how it vibrates in your space. To notice that, and to be still with that, because sometimes, maybe oftentimes, the way we relate is in order to manage what's happening in our space. We often may not even notice it. It's like a jerk reaction. So if you can also notice how you're feeling, and it's not about your feelings. So then you can be still with what's happening within you, just to sort of notice it, and not speak from that place, not to relate from that place. And what touches people is love. That you are in complete acceptance. There isn't a judgment of them. And love doesn't come from a person. It comes through the person, but doesn't come from the person.
I wish I had a pen and pencil. I wish I had a pen and pencil. I should write that down.
It's recorded.
Okay, that's right.
But I have to figure, I used to know how to make CDs, but I'll have to revisit that. So because it doesn't come from a person, it doesn't need a person. But how to be in company of a friend or somebody without being a person? That's the contemplation. It's an important contemplation, the contemplation of one's impression of personhood. It's an important contemplation. It's actually core contemplation in the contemplation of the self. Am I what I think I am? Am I what I imagine I am? Am I what I imagine other people think I am? All of that, these questions, we are not habituated to ask them. It's just, it takes a while for this sort of questions to become of interest to us. But when they become of interest to us, they're important questions to contemplate for oneself. In the way we do that often in our gatherings here. Am I the thought, the image, the impression, the bodily sensation, the thoughts, the memories? Am I that? Something that I perceive, of course, or that is perceived, or am I the aware presence, the effortless aware presence that we come to realize is, although not a form, is the reality of our experience, awareness. So awareness is love. Because it has no borders and it has no needs, demands, conditions, expectations. It's not trying to improve itself, to improve others. None of that. Imagine you are with somebody like that. It's heaven in a way. And that's what you are, the awareness.
What else to get to your question? If you're perceiving this discomfort in somebody else, it is, I guess, something you could experience with compassion, but not so much through personhood. If you try to engage it through personhood, you're just sort of reinforcing this whole tendency to make it all about personhood.
Yeah.
Which is a very kind of instantaneous neurological response in some respects.
The discomfort always refers to a person. Conflict, anxiety, It always refers to a person. But you can sense if there is an invitation to point that out. And you can sort of experiment with that. You can sort of put it out in the space and see if there is an interest. You can sense there's an interest. Then you can take it a step further in looking into that. Do you need to carry your history with you? I mean, we do that. But what for? Can we be fresh, free and fresh, and celebrate the freshness of this moment? And what's gone is gone. Heck, I mean, who cares? It's just being carried as a neuronic firing the brain, image and memory. If you sense an openness, then that's good, because the other person is saying, okay, yeah, wow, yeah, I hear you. And then, of course, if you don't sense that there is an openness, like, what are you talking about? Okay. Maybe it's a seed that germinates sometime. Who knows? What do we know? At the mind level, we don't know. You see? And of course, if there is a question asked for you that's opening that kind of conversation, you can explore with the other person whatever arises for you in that direction. But definitely you're not trying to teach or save or help anybody. That's not what it's about.
What you said there, I thought was remarkable. How to be with people without being in person. That's a big realization. I just kind of heard
Yes.
the whole thing. Yeah.
To be without a me and a you, without stories.
Right.
There's a comparison, analysis, without carrying stuff and having the archives and all that editing and
Right.
clean slate, moment by moment, instant by instant.
I mean, that's kind of the core illusion of that somehow being with somebody else and being in conversation is about your person or their person.
Yes.
And none of that is even real at all.
No.
And in fact, if you get outside of that, then you have this engagement.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
I couldn't help but think that all the things you mentioned, orientation, would apply also if you were relating to your own emotional distress, as well as to someone else's.
Yes. With one's emotional distress or contractions, at a certain mature stage in your contemplation, you just perceive that as energetics that are sort of, when there is an earthquake, there are tremors. Sometimes the tremors go on for a few years, but very, minor tremors, or a few months, whatever.
Aftershocks.
Aftershocks. There are tremors, energetics.
Okay.
And in one's own space, in the contemplation, you can come to an understanding of what it's about. What is this? What's happening here? What is that about? This unhappiness, this internal tremor. What is that about? And at some point, you come to understand that it's always about me and better me, worse me and the other, me and the other's image of me, my image of myself, etc. It's the me and the duality or the multiplicity, the multiple reality model multiple realities. You come to understand that there is that conditioning within the space of contracting into an energetic field that's sort of personal and other. The person and the person's internal self and the external world. And you come to also an experiential sense of the openness. That, in fact, they're like images on the screen. They're events in the open space. That there are actually no separate forms. There's this one ocean of awareness that's sort of morphing within itself without actually leaving itself or changing in any way. It takes on these forms. You know, there is this, I always want to try to find one of those, there's this slate, this sort of game or something. It's like a slate, and you press your finger on it, and it makes these forms. It's like, it makes these like rainbow forms or something. It's like I don't know. Anyways, it's interesting because it's like nothing's happening, but as soon as you touch it, within itself it takes these forms. Well, maybe one day I'll see it in one of these stores.
I had one of those when I was young.
Yeah.
It's like an etch-a-sketch, but you use your fingers instead of...
Yes, something like that. Within the surface itself, there are all these potential manifestations, but there is no external finger. In this case, it's all within consciousness itself. So it's a unified field of beingness, of a seamless field, infinite field of beingness. Infinite is even that's not complete, because the language is limited. Because when you say infinite, it's beyond infinite. Infinite and eternal. These are the words that best come close to. And within this field and out of this field is what we refer to as the phenomenal world. So this beingness, this vastness of being, is our primary experience, is our primary reality. What we are is this borderless, energetic beingness, fieldness, presence. That's not a form, that has no form. And you come to sort of a sense of that, an experiential sense of that, when you contemplate the contemplator, when you contemplate that which truly perceives, which truly is. When you contemplate that, you come to the formless, because you cannot turn your senses to it as a form. And you notice that it's knowingness has no, it's all knowingness. There are no borders to its knowingness. Everything, it's made out of knowingness, and it's borderless knowingness. So when you come to a certain contraction within your inner space, you come to the understanding of the mental process of separation and the feeling of separation. And then you through your contemplation, you also have a sense of this beingness, this borderless beingness.
Reminds me of a magic trick. The self creates magic in a way. It's not real, but it creates the illusion of a separate self with troubles. But it's hocus pocus a little bit.
Yeah, it's the conceiver of the hocus pocus, the creator of the hocus pocus, the witness and the experiencer, let me say that, experiencer of the hocus pocus, and the dissolver of the hocus pocus.
It's like all in one.
Yes. Conceives, creates, perceives, destroys.
Say that again. What did you just say?
Consciousness conceives, perceives. I'm sorry, conceives, creates, perceives, and destroys. Conceives, creates, perceives, and destroys. There isn't an external, the hocus pocus, there is a magician and there are people in the audience. There is no stage and there is no audience. It's all in one. Which is really beautiful in a way, because peace is oneness. It takes two to have a conflict. Even me and myself. Sometimes that's the biggest conflict.
Then peace becomes an ideal or a concept.
Oh, yes. Right. Peace becomes an ideal and a concept, and is still a subject and an object. There is still a person and a goal, for example. Yeah? So there is a me that has a concept, and I'm going to use this concept in order to achieve this and that in the future. There is a me impression in time and space. And so then that means there is this experience now and this experience later. Now this experience is so and so, later this experience would be better. Would be better. So that's a separation. It's a separation. And it's also a postponement. Postponing. It's postponing, delay. Why? Why to feel better later? This is a joke on ourselves. Because in fact, later, we don't experience it really. I mean, it's like saying, oh, well, free beer tomorrow.
Later is always later.
Huh?
Later is always later.
There's no later.
Yeah.
See? Right, later, it's always later, but there's no later. There's no later, right, later is always later, right.
Just wait for the payoff. Oh my God,
Yes.
never come.
Yes. So we celebrate our happiness and freedom now. We celebrate the joy, the beauty, the love now. And we say, yes, why not? So we say, why not? It's very good. Just why not? Why not celebrate now? But how do we celebrate now? As a person. Because as a person, you're carrying all your history, all your story. So you have to put it down. Then to celebrate. Otherwise, you just, wait a minute, not this, not that. Because our history is full of conditions. It's like, oh, my traumas, I like this, I don't like that, he did this, she did that. It gets in the way of our celebration. So we have images of each other and of ourselves. First, images of others arise from images of ourselves. Because if there is no image here, it's a transparent space, you see. Right? All images are welcome for the transparent space. But the image here is already self-judgment. It's a self-judgment. We start with a self-judgment. And with that, we judge others.